Guilty balls.
Hey
Yeah.
everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Kilted Balls podcast. This is your friendly co-host, Ballbuster, signing back on.
Yeah, and Killed the Dragon Jairs here.
I'm in a new location today. I realized if I'm on my laptop, I have freedom to go anywhere.
Yes. I would say move your mic in just a tad. I don't know if it got bumped or
I'm
something.
not
Yes.
talking on, I'm not actually using
Oh, that's why you sound different. I was trying to make it sound a little more clear. Well, you're doing good then.
Heck yeah. Nope, that is not. Though I can probably change my microphone a little bit. I don't know if it'll work during the thing, but
That's all
we'll
right.
see.
I mean, it sounded good, but I saw how far it was away, so I was just telling you to move it in. So how is everything?
Everything is, it's trying to automatically adjust. Let me unautomatically adjust. Hopefully it sounds better now. Things are
Yes,
going
it
good.
does. It does.
Things are going good. It was a good weekend, not bad, over 8, which is always fun. And then
Yes.
we're just getting ready for a lot of like end of season stuff up here, right, in Michigan. And so that brings a lot of emotions and fun stuff like that, which I just was thinking today that I just find exhausting.
Yeah.
Well, I don't like tend to be around emotions very much. Like it's weird. And so when I am, I think that part of me that relates to all the emotions has trouble battling that all the time. So
Okay. When they come up.
That's just my feels. But yeah, it was nice. It's fall break for the kiddos. So I got to see, the college girls this weekend, and that was nice and fun. And it's good having them back around. We got a new puppy. So that's amazing.
Exciting.
If she was up here, I would show you to her. She's pretty adorable. So, but we got a trainer now, and so that's fun.
Yeah, that's always the exciting part. You're like, wait a second.
Yep. So yeah, how about you?
I had an amazing weekend. It was Oliver's 9th birthday. So, and he had Monday off.
Okay.
So it was an extra long weekend. So we gave him the option. Do we want to have a birthday party? Because Gino loves to throw birthday parties for the kids.
For sure.
Or does he want to go to Universal and just be able to hang with his brother and family? And he picked Universal. So I was able to switch my timeshare. So the hotel, barely cost anything. And then just Universal and everything. So it was a lot of fun.
And I think you mentioned last week that you were going to go to Universal and you were taking out a mortgage so that you could go.
No, we were teasing. So
but isn't it crazy expensive? Am I wrong? I've heard that the whole thing there is just stupid money.
Yeah, if you do more days, the cost per day comes down. But for one day, for 2 adults and 2 kids, it was $600.
So substantial.
Yeah. I mean, that's not counting food or anything like that. So you get in there and
right. Yeah, and the food is expensive too, isn't it? Though you said you had a good experience somewhere.
Yeah, so what we did, we ate lunch in there just because like how we got there. So anyone unfamiliar with Universal, and if you are, then just bear with me. So you go in and you have City Walk. So there's a ton of restaurants and shops and stuff, and there's this big pond. So there's all this stuff around the pond, and then one side is Islands of Adventure, and then the other side is Universal Studios. So Universal Studios, in my book, tends to be for the lower ages. I mean, of course, there's adult stuff there and definitely adult themes. But the other side, the Islands of Adventure, is the bigger roller coasters and things like that. And one thing that's really cool about Universal is the rides, and Disney's like this too, but as compared to a Cedar Point or Carowinds, the rides are an experience. So you're waiting in line, but I mean, these are all movie people. So there's movies going on, and there's like the Transformers, you're on a mission. So Optimus Prime is talking to you while you're waiting in line.
Right. So, it's a different experience.
Yes, it's a whole different experience. Then you have like the video screen, which it takes up your whole life. and just the cart's still moving around or whatever, but it's a whole thing.
Right.
So it's super super awesome. So we went to the Universal Studios side. The Minions, they had a new Minions thing there, which Morgie really loved. And then they had the Harry Potter stuff there, which is why we picked Universal, because Oliver's really loving Harry Potter right now.
Right.
And which was super super awesome. It's Diagon Alley set up, so you kind of walk back in there, and there's all the shops, and there's the giant dragon that's on Gringotts and
Yeah.
everything. So like all that's super super fun. But because Halloween Horror Nights is going on, it closed at 5 instead
Okay.
of 9. So closed early because Halloween Horror Nights opens on that side. So we go out and we tell Ollie, like, pick wherever you want to eat in the City Walk area. So
Sure.
there's a cowfish there. Which have you had the cowfish here? You've
I
had
don't think
Ease, I
so.
think. So there's a restaurant here in Charlotte, and they own a sushi place too. So it's Ease and Cowfish have the same owners, and the Ease
Okay.
is sushi, and Cowfish is sushi and burgers. And like when you get your bento box, you get like sushi and you can get a little burger and all that stuff. So they opened a Cowfish down there recently. So he was going to pick that because he likes sushi. And then we walked by this it's a chocolatier, and they have real food too. So
Oh,
it was super super fun. Like they specialize in old fashions, and they had a chocolate old fashioned, which was
really?
amazing. I got the
You're
I
talking my
got
language
the
now.
yeah, I got the fatback, or I got not fatback, the pork belly sliders. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of an Asian themed slider. And then it had chocolate covered bacon like on top of it, like as like the decoration and stuff. So everything was chocolatey, and the chocolate was amazing. So it was a lot of fun.
Oh man, mildly jealous of all of
Mm-hmm.
that. Which leads me into your latest endeavor. So now that you've gone to Universal, you splurged, you binged, you ate dinner at a chocolate restaurant. What's your new thing?
That's so anyone who does or doesn't know me, I mean, a lot of our listeners don't know me that well or at all, but I really have a sweet tooth. I have a huge problem with sweets. I say problem because it's constant. I eat sweets every day, whether I'm
Hmm.
eating candies or whatever. But I saw our
But
friend of the show,
don't you think
Jason.
that's what makes you so sweet? Is eating
It
all the
does
sweets?
it does make me so sweet. But
Yeah.
I did have a chance to hang out with our friend Jason for a couple days,
Yeah.
and he's done a very good job, and he's taking baby steps. We always talk about baby steps,
Yep.
and cutting out sugar was a big thing for him, and he's exercising, and
Hmm.
he's a little bit of a bigger guy, and he's been losing a ton of weight. He looks amazing, and I've seen the pictures, but to see him in real life, and to kind of pick his brain a little bit more. And I've been thinking that I should do something like that, and hanging out with him and seeing him really inspired me. So I'm now 2 days in of not adding extra sugar. So I'm just doing what I can, doing some basic things. I'm not saying I'm stopping sugar forever, but I think I need to at least a few weeks, months, maybe a couple months, just really rein in, especially during this time of year. I figure would be a good time to do it, because this time of year is the easy one to, the kids went to a trunk or treat tonight, and I could
Yeah.
easily eat like 5 little candy bars when we get done here. you know and then normally I would.
But that's what I'm saying. So you were saying now it seems like a good time to do this. Wouldn't a good time to do this be like June when you don't have all the holidays? No?
No, because so say for things. So here's my in my brain.
Yes. Hmm.
Thanksgiving comes up.
Yes.
There's going to be either pumpkin pie or apple pie or both, and other sweets and everything like
Pecan
that.
pie.
And I will take one reasonable piece of something, of one of those. I'll just pick one.
Okay. Of one of those things. What
Yeah.
about instead of one reasonable size piece, three little pieces of each?
I could. Well, see, I really like a sharp cheddar cheese on my apple pie,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and the last couple of Thanksgivings we've spent with family, they don't tend to have the sharp cheddar cheese for their apple pie.
So I
So,
never had that, and I've always heard it's good. Do you just put it on there so that you cut the cheese with the apple pie?
mhm,
I mean, I know
yeah,
you cut the cheese
you
anyway,
cut the cheese anyways.
either way,
So,
but
well, this weekend,
so
Jason
it's
was
not
nice enough.
melted on it.
Mm-mm.
You
Jason
just
was nice enough to bring an apple pie or a pumpkin pie for dinner,
mhm.
like just to bring, because we were making dinner. And
Yeah,
like literally the pieces I cut are, easily 5 inches along the back, 5, 6 inches, because
that seems
it's the
reasonable.
giant Sam's Club one,
Yeah, that seems
which
okay.
is like giant as your head. But then I'm eating two or three of those. I just need to rein it in a little
Yeah,
bit.
but that's eating your fruit. That's totally different. It's not like you're eating a like ice cream pie.
See, I told Gina earlier today, I know I'm on the right path because Ballbuster gave me a hard time. when people give me a hard time about choices you're making, you're on the right path.
Then you know. It's funny because I was at school today and I walked by a teacher and they're like, oh man, I just need chocolate. Like, we need a dispensary, not a vending machine, a dispensary so we can get our little chocolate fix. And I was like, right? I go, could you imagine not eating sugar or processed sugar? And she's like, why would you ever do that? And I'm like, right? I just had a friend who said he's going to not do that. And she's like, why would you do that? I'm like, that is a life not worth living right there. A life not worth living.
Mhm. We'll see. We'll see. Well,
Which means that it could be
I'll
right.
get under 200 pounds, maybe tap 190, and then, we'll go from there.
Now,
Mm.
you didn't do this before. I'm trying to think. Somebody in our lives recently did like the 30-day sugar-free challenge. Was that not you?
No, I think
Hmm.
I mean, no, if I tried it, I might have made it a day, maybe half a day.
I think I've remembered the situation now. And maybe it wasn't you. Maybe it was like Sierra and somebody else
Yeah, they used to do
doing
all
it.
sorts of crazy stuff, but that would have been years ago.
That would have been years ago. That's probably just in my brain because I'm like,
Yeah,
somebody did that. And I'm trying to remember who
that's
did
probably
that.
what you're thinking of.
Right? Like 2017, 2018.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But you didn't do that. I thought you did it too.
No, I mean, I participated as far as like meals were concerned and things like that.
How far did you make it? Right? Because wasn't that the thing? Like it was
But
no
I would,
sugar at
but
all.
I would eat sugar and stuff, at different times. Just like, so the big thing
Oh,
was, so like, I remember it was like a different sort of soy sauce because there's like something is in soy sauce, whether it's sugar, I don't remember exactly, but we had
for
like
sure.
this different kind of soy sauce. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember that, and just the meals we were cooking. So like it was a low carb. So instead of noodles, we'd have spaghetti squash, which you taught me about,
Mm-hmm.
or we'd zoodle a lot of stuff. We had a zoodler.
Sure.
So that sort of thing. And that's also stuff that Gina and I have talked about, like for us as a family to kind of do a little bit more because we do eat out quite a bit. So we're not eating great food or like we're eating a lot of processed food. So just try to make baby steps. Like today we had an awesome giant Cobb salad and it was amazing.
Well, and I remember teasing you about that one of the times I visited. I was like, all you guys do is eat out, which, by the way, listeners, I'm a huge fan of eating out, whether
Mm-hmm.
I know her or not. Like, I just think that's
Mm-hmm.
probably a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's a thing. So, but that was you guys, like you weren't even cooking anymore. And that's when I was like, wow, that's weird. So now you're
Yeah.
getting back into eating at home, which is honestly probably good for the kids.
Yeah, the big thing I think early on, a lot of the things that I really like to cook, the kids weren't eating.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of like, it's just a little bit disappointing, but they have different palates and they're used to different things. So I'm trying to work back in some of the things. I mean, Morgan's getting older, so he's, eating other things. And Ollie actually likes a lot of different things. So
Yeah.
that's
Well,
that's
I know
super
Ollie
awesome.
does. And I think that's important. I think we tease people around here. And we've talked before. Michigan
Mm-hmm.
has way more stuff than down there. But like, there's like a high school kiddo who, like, he eats chicken nuggets every day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's weird. You shouldn't do that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
diversify your palate. Well, I don't like other stuff. I didn't ask if you liked it.
Yeah.
Diversify your freaking palate. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's not always just about, oh, just eat what you like. Then you're
Mm-hmm.
just eating for pleasure, which is exactly what you're saying about the sugar. You're
Yeah.
eating for pleasure, not for sustenance. And sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
should eat for sustenance, which means you need to vary your palate and
Yeah.
not just eat chicken McNuggets, or, Jamie, if you're listening, cereal, which I had a bowl of cereal for dessert and it was wonderful. So
Mm-hmm. Cereal I'm gonna miss. I'm gonna miss gummy bears, of course. And actually I think the popcorn for the next few weeks,
listen,
because
listen.
I would buy the caramel corn and cheddar
Oh
mix.
yeah, I got some at Horrocks the other day.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think for sugar that you can count gummy bears or peanut M&Ms. I don't think those are part of the counting.
Well,
I think it's other
the
sugars.
last time I had peanut M&Ms, I was super sick and I did not feel good. I ate 2 share bags within like half hour.
That'll do it.
They were on sale. I ate a whole bunch of them. Yeah,
Well,
I
and
felt really
Cal's been
bad.
doing
I
that with
haven't
my
had
gummy
M&Ms
Cubs.
since.
Like, I ordered a
Mm-hmm.
case of Cubs, and like he'll be like, "Hey, can I have some?" I'm like, "Yeah, here," and I'll open it up like at a football game. Then be like, "Here's the wrapper." I'm like, "Where the hell did they go?"
Yeah,
It's like, "Oh, I
those are
just ate them."
so good.
And I said something. We were at a football game, and I'm just like passing them out to the people around me. And our buddy Rick was there, and I was like, "Man, Cal just like huffs those down. I don't even understand it." He goes, "Probably like this," and he opens it. He's like, "Oh," put the whole thing in his mouth. He
That's
goes,
what I
"Because this
do.
is how you're supposed to eat them." I was like, "That's not how you're supposed to eat them. You're supposed to bite each one in half and kill it first, and then
Mm-hmm.
eat it."
See, yours would last a lot longer than.
They do. I get so much pleasure from it because I'm
Mm-hmm.
not eating the gummies for sustenance. That is
Yeah,
pure pleasure, unless
yeah.
I'm starving, which has happened. You've been around me when I've been starving and had to
Mm-hmm.
eat gummies. So
I
you're a
mean, I think I can circle back around, but I know that I don't have a great relationship with sugar.
yeah. Well, I think you do have a great relationship. It's just not giving you the results you want in your body.
Yes, exactly.
It sounds like it's a really good relationship.
Yeah, yeah, sugar loved me.
And you love sugar. You're
Uh-huh.
both very attentive to each other. You both
Uh-huh.
listen to each other's wants.
Mm-hmm.
So just has a bad side effect.
Yeah.
So I had an interesting conversation yesterday, and you're not there yet, but you'll get there. And it was super interesting. And listeners, I'm super curious about your opinions. Comment on the video or shoot us a tweet or a message. But I don't remember perfectly how the conversation went, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sitting next to one of my buddies, Eder, who you know Eder,
Mm-hmm.
right? And sorry, people, if you're getting motion sick, gotta kind of change my position. And I'm trying not to support Pepsi here. I threw on a junk shirt today, and no, I feel like I'm endorsing Pepsi. This is not endorsed by Pepsi, even though I like Baja Blast.
Never
Pepsi,
drink
you are.
Pepsi, always Coke. You got the right one, baby. Judy Brown in the house.
So I forget how he started the conversation, but it was like, do you ever feel like the relationship with your kids is completely one-sided? He's like it feels like I'm always doing everything for the kids, and I'm going to all the kids' stuff, and I'm, buying them all this stuff, and I'm doing all this stuff. And he's like, and they don't give two shits about like me or helping the house or doing all of this stuff. And he's like, he goes like, should I feel bad about that? Like, is that like a thing? Like, I'm like, no, I go, that's a for sure a thing. I go, we talk about it in our house. I go, one of our girls, like, we feel like she doesn't even notice anything that we do, right? Like, we're like, we give, 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 give. And if we ask you to unload the dishwasher, it's like we shot you,
Yeah.
right?
But isn't that
That's
part of being a kid? Isn't that part of being
well,
a
but like I had
teenager?
said, I go, that didn't happen with some of my kids. Like some
Yeah.
of my kids are like, oh, you know what? This needs to be done at the house. I'm going to do this thing at the house.
Hmm.
And oh my gosh, you do so much for me. Let me help you do this. Right.
Yeah.
Like they kind of go along. And so I was like, yeah, that's a thing. And like, I don't think it's bad that you feel that way.
Hmm.
Like it's a thing. And I thought I remembered a long time back, you were talking like about Tristan, that like you guys would have to like beg him to do stuff. So maybe you're right. Maybe it's part of being a kid. Like they don't
Yeah.
understand what that is. But it's an
Hmm.
interesting thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it's I think as they grow up and get older, you're expecting them to contribute and they want more freedom and more independence and more
Hmm.
responsibilities, but they don't want to do the work that goes along with those responsibilities.
Yeah. I mean, because I can remember, like, I mean, I was 14 when my sister was born, so I would
Mm-hmm.
help her and watch her,
Yes.
but like, I do some basic things around the house, but I don't, I think back and I was just like, oh my gosh, like, I probably could have helped a lot more. But to me, it's like, as a kid, unless you're like the parents are telling you to do something, you're just kind of off and you're exploring life.
Yeah. And I think it's different for me because I grew up on a farm.
Yeah. So
Like
you're
you didn't,
always helping.
right? You didn't have that luxury of,
Mm-hmm.
you had your chores you had to do every day.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't small, easy chores. So, you might not clean your room all the time,
Mm-hmm.
but you're constantly doing work all the time.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know how Amy was when she was younger, but she's an oldest. And I feel oldists are different when they do that
Mm-hmm.
kind of stuff. You have like a whole troop going by you
Mm-hmm.
waving at the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it's an interesting side note. And like you wonder, like you guys, you just did this huge, big, awesome thing. And like you hope he appreciates it.
I think so. I I think it's an age where he'll look back of it
You want to shut
fondly.
that door behind you?
Yeah. Hey, Abs, can you shut the door instead of dancing in the background? Thank you. Oh,
Or go the other way.
yeah. Oh, Gino's calling him.
Yeah.
So I think he's gonna really appreciate it and something that he like looks back on and like remembers it and is, very, hopefully it was a great experience for him. But at the same time, it's just like, driving back, it was still pulling teeth to get him to take his trash out of, the back of the van when we
Right.
stopped at the gas station. So it
Yeah.
wasn't like that. Like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. Thank you guys. Why don't I take care of my stuff instead of making you ask me 3 times?
Right.
So
Right.
just stuff like that.
Yes.
But
Where you're like, come on.
overall, and Eder, nobody knows his relationship with his children and how
Yeah.
that works. But to be at a point where he's like upset about it or talking to other adults seems like there might be some things that he's got to talk to them about or
Yeah.
cover.
And I think he's pretty open in his relationship with them where he talks about
Mm-hmm.
that.
That's
But
awesome.
like I'm sitting there going, I'm right with you, bro. Cause Amy will bitch about that all the time. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Where she'll be like, like we'll get a text message like in the family text thread, and it'll
Mm-hmm.
be like, seriously, nobody put away dinner, nobody did this, you know.
Yeah.
I cooked everything, I cleaned everything, I did all this, and you guys couldn't put the dishes away. Like
Mm-hmm.
seriously. And like
Yeah.
she's like, people are gonna die, or then they'll forget to take out the trash, right? And she'll be like,
Mm-hmm.
are you kidding? Like, what the hell are you people doing? And
Yeah.
I'm like, someone's gonna die.
Like your whole life, the trash has been Wednesday morning, so you take it out.
So you
Or
take
when
it out.
it's full, you just take it to the curb cart.
Yeah, yeah. And like our friend Stacy used to like talk about that. She's like,
Mm-hmm.
if you see it there, you take care of it. Now,
Mm-hmm.
Amy will say I'm as bad as the kiddos. Like I'll see it, and
Mm-hmm.
she's like, and you guys are seriously blind when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to like trash being on the floor. And I'm like, maybe that's true. Maybe we are.
Well,
I go, if so, then it's genetic.
to not come to Amy's defense, I think she knew that before she signed up. It's not like you've changed
In that regard, like
drastic way.
I probably changed to the better. Like I'm like, come on,
sure.
I probably see 30% of the
Mhm.
trash now.
At
And it
least.
probably used to be 0. So I'm like, come on, there's been growth.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's probably
hilarious.
real. That's probably real. Yeah. It is to me anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, and I remember you guys having that issue with Tristan. And and everybody's different, right? So like but I see parents often will go like one of two ways, right? Like they will totally enable their kids all the time until they grow resentful and shit hits the fan and all of a sudden they disown their kids. Or it's like they get grumpy about it right away. But it's like today's message that I got from Amy was like, maybe our kid needs to start working in a soup kitchen so they understand how good they have it.
Well, especially being the third and fourth children, where the other two were older and the other two had already started like picking up after themselves, after you know, part of that family dynamic. And by the time they come around, like it's kind of like, oh, this is being done.
Well, and I think they're super grateful, right? Like, like Ava had a long conversation with me, kind of like in June-ish, where she was like, do you know how many of my peers are struggling to afford college? And I'm like, yes, like that, like I know that. And she's like, but like for you guys, like we're just going to college. Like it was never an issue about money. And I'm like, no, it's not. She goes, like, I am so grateful that whatever you guys have done to take care of us, you've done. She goes, because I'm realizing now not all of my friends have that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, they don't.
No.
They don't. And in my youngest daughter's defense, that's life, right? Like you don't probably know when you're 16, right? But it's also the reason why she doesn't have like a super nice car or anything like that as she's turning 16, because she doesn't help out a lot. And I'm like, well, if you're not helping out a lot, then you're not getting a cool car or something like that. That's just normal consequences.
Yeah, you don't get those.
Which other people probably do, right? Just not in my world. Right. Not that I mean, right? Like if she wanted a new phone, like for her birthday, or, she got a new phone if I thought it was necessary for her. But, sometimes I don't too. So,
yeah, exactly.
Depends.
So if you're listening to this, a little dropping some knowledge.
Dropping some knowledge. Yeah. Well, and I'm curious about our listeners, like how they've dealt with this with their families. And I know some of them aren't there yet. Our listeners have such a varied degree, right? But it's still like a weird thing to know when do you deal with it, because you don't want to get resentful. And that's what happens, right? I think what happens, this is sound bad. I think it's similar to animals in the animal kingdom, right? Like when a dog is around a puppy, like we have a new puppy, it's okay if the puppy's a little shit. The dog doesn't mind. It can attack it, it can bite it, they'll play, but it'll hit a stage where the older dogs don't consider it a puppy anymore. And it'll try that horse shit and they'll go after it. And I think it's similar with kids. Like I think when kids are Ollie's age, nobody expects them to be like uber grateful and taking out the trash. But somewhere around like 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, depending on your kid, you start being like, hey, this roommate of mine should start carrying their weight. And they transition from being your little baby to being your roommate in your house. Yeah. Because the exit's about to happen, right? Like you're to the point where you're going to be leaving. And so all of a sudden this isn't going to be your house. It'll still be your home. Yeah. But it won't be your house anymore. And so you should probably help out. when you're at the house.
Yep. Well, that's like Oliver's 9,
Mm-hmm.
and this has been going on for a little while, but he's old enough now where after dinner he can scrape his food into the garbage.
Yes.
And he can wipe down his spot.
Yes.
And he's like, well, look at Morgan's spot. It's a mess. Like, Morgan is 4. He's not ready to do that yet. We try, we'll give him the wash, to wipe it up here and there, but usually he just runs off. But he's not at that stage of life. So I think that's part of it too, like giving those jobs, and they have to be age appropriate and stuff. You don't want to set yourself as a parent up for failure where you're trying to have them do too much and it's not clicking.
Well, and it's also weird in today's day and age. So like your plate thing is great. I heard Brenna yelling at Cal today. Did you scrape your plate? No, go scrape your plate, put it in the dishwasher. And he's like, and she's like, don't give me that. Get your butt in the kitchen, take care of it. I'm like, haha, I don't have to parent.
Yeah.
But this is such a weird thing about America. And I'm not saying this is right. And I think it's the pendulum is swinging too much one way or another. But we used to put these little bitches in coal mines when they were 9 years old.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Like we expected them to be working their butts off for the family, right? Pre-child labor laws, that was the thing. And now, like, we're having a great conversation, but now we're literally talking about, is it too much to ask the kid to scrape their plates? And 100 years ago, they were like, yeah, you're fine. Go into the coal mine. Oh, you know what? Climb up on that tree and saw those branches down.
Here's a pickaxe.
Here's a pickaxe. Get your ass to work. Go hunt. You need to feed the family, right? Like, it seems like we were that way unless you were rich. You had to help provide. And I don't know what those ages were. Now, they were also dying when they were 14.
Yeah.
So, or 10 because they died in a coal mine. Right. But it's such an interesting thing that, that was the thing. But now it's not. It's similar. Speaking of that, I remember that was a lot of gripe with Ender's Game. You remember Ender's Game and Bean?
I love Ender's Game.
Some of the people did not like Ender's Game because they said no child that age would be expected to do that stuff. And people were like, actually, we kind of expect them to do that stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Like if you think about, I'm just using Ollie because, he's the most recent here. But we have, Cal's another great one. I have no issues imagining Cal building a house on Minecraft.
Yeah.
I have no qualms with Cal playing a game that has multiple steps, multiple grinding points, multiple things, and full confidence that he can go and do that game and figure it out. But I don't have Cal cook dinner.
Yeah.
Which he clearly could do. And to put it in perspective, when I was 6, I had to cook dinner once a week in the weekend. Mindy and I had to tag team. Every kid had a day during the summer where they had to cook dinner. So Mindy and I always had a day together.
Yeah.
Right. Back when we were young. And I know it was back then because remember, my brother was like 10 years older than me. So 8 years old, he would have already been gone and it wouldn't have been split up.
Yeah.
Right. So, we were doing
responsibility.
Well, cripe. I won my first blue ribbon in the fair at 5 for making deep fried donuts, which I made on my own to make them and made 1,000 batches to make sure I had it right. So that's 5 years old. I'm using a deep fryer and making cinnamon sugar donuts. Right. And showing animals in the fair. So clearly from somewhere in our generation to now, we have wussified the expectations.
It happens.
It does. It's an interesting thing. I've heard people talk about that, but now I'm like, it's becoming real to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, we did wussify expectations. I used to get yelled at by people at work because I would have my kids walk to school. And I could
Mm-hmm.
see the school they were walking to. And they'd
Mm-hmm.
be like, we can't believe you let your kid walk to school. I'm like, why? Well, what if something happens? I'm like, I can literally see them
Yeah. They can
walking
see him the whole
to,
way.
well, what about when it's snowing? I'm like, doesn't your kid go outside and play in the snow? Well, yes. And aren't they going to play outside at recess in the snow? Yeah. So why can't they walk 200 yards in the snow? I'm super
Mm-hmm.
confused why that's an issue. And people seriously thought I was crazy. Multiple people said I was being bad by doing it. They're
Mm-hmm.
like, something's going to happen. Your kids are going to get kidnapped. I'm like, you
Mm-hmm.
think? And then I was like, do you think I can get insurance money for that?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's
Like
why they
maybe
thought I
they
was
will.
bad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's just weird. But
Like I
right,
can
like,
see him. Mm-hmm. It
and
happens.
think about our age, all the people who used to walk to school.
Mm-hmm.
People in my district right now are mad that the district put, I think it's a half-mile radius around the building. You have to walk to school. They're not going to bus you.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like livid. I'm like, it's not that far.
Yeah.
Like, and it may not even be that much. I remember laughing because it's like one neighborhood over, and people are like, that's just too far. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, really? I'm like, because I used to walk to church in second grade. And I
Yeah.
think you're 8 years old in second grade. And you know how far
Well,
my
I can
church was
even.
from the school.
Mhm. Well, even just thinking about just the difference between my sister and myself. Like my mom drove my sister to school every single day.
Isn't that crazy?
Like instead, like she didn't like riding the bus, or I don't remember the story exactly, but a lot
Right.
of people do that. I mean, I drive Ollie, although I got the number to, I have it right here. There's buses this year, so I'm going to see where the nearest stops are. Try to cut.
Shut,
Try to
shut
cut.
your mouth. There's no bus that comes out where you live for
There's a
Ollie's
there's
school.
there's a bus that goes to Huntersville, right there at the right across the street from Birkdale, and there's another stop further north. I want to see where the other stop
But
is, but I can.
not by Dallas.
But if I'm driving to the warehouse, it's easier for me to stop at Huntersville at a
No, no,
right
for sure.
there than it
For
is to
sure.
drive to his
For
school.
sure. I thought you were saying that they had buses coming out to Dallas. I'm like, no, no, no.
No, they
You
have
can't
random bus
trick me
stops. I need to find out where the stops are.
because Dallas is hell of a long way for your school. Hell of a long way.
From any good school.
It's a long way from any good school. That's true. Maybe South Carolina is probably the closest.
South Carolina.
Oh my goodness. That's true. Well, people, we're about to run out of time. I hope you enjoy the
Yeah.
conversation. Please get back with us and let us know your feels. We love you all. And this is Ballbuster signing off.
Dr. Dragon Jerry, love you all.